Okay, this is a special report in our holiday, and this is not very good circumstances, but we try. Uh, we will have to talk to Jens Stoltenberg again. So we have him present here. Hello, Jens. It's now a week ago since we talked last time. You told us that NATO was about to launch a big strike on Russia. The failed coup, was that part of the plan? Yes, it was essential. The plan was not about liberating Donbass, as most people think. Ukraine was a proxy for NATO for many years. Now we are running short of options, and there was no way for NATO to start using nuclear weaponry. We did that successfully in Japan back in 1945. The difference being that Japan had no such weapons, and Russia today is better equipped than the combined West. Therefore, a plan to topple Russia with a military coup seemed far more plausible. Sadly, as you know, Prigozjin, the Wagner chief, ended up marching almost alone towards Moscow with a tiny convoy, with no chance of achieving anything but become captured, and so he did. None of the needed conditions were actually met. Wagner started the march, hoping that the Russian army, politicians, bureaucrats, people on the streets would join the march for justice towards the Kremlin. They never did. We had some sleeping cells installed in Moscow, but they never got activated because the army never reached Moscow. The Western media did its part with premature reports about Ukrainian forces breaking through enemy lines and with the Moscow House of Cards shaking. However, the needed momentum was never achieved. The whole arrangement was initially quite clever. The plan was for the Ukrainian army to break through the Russian defense lines. The Wagner group would join them and start moving towards Moscow. On their way, millions of exalted people would join the armies of the united Ukrainian and Russian soldiers celebrating peace and solidarity. In Moscow, special forces were ready to storm the Kremlin, capture Putin, and take over power. This would have ended the conflict in Ukraine, and the West could dissolve the Russian Federation. Here we come to a point that cannot be overestimated. Russia has weapon systems that by far exceeds ours. With such a military coup, all this hardware and knowledge would fall in our hands. Without a shot fired, controlling the very potent Russian weaponry would be a game changer regarding China. All of a sudden, we would again be able to decide the conditions. But as you know, the Ukrainian army spent the whole spring never penetrating the Russian defense lines. You never believed in this plan, did you? I was rather pessimistic already before Wagner started marching, and it turned out I was right. But if you knew in advance, why did you approve it? I told you last time we spoke, I am the public face of NATO. I decide nothing. I don't even know exactly how, where, and by whom decisions are made. Okay, but then you are not responsible either, are you? Well, at this level, it is not really about who is guilty. If something goes wrong, we have to contain it the best way possible. Now Prigozjin is the loose gun. He may already have revealed crucial information about our cooperation. Isn't that all right? I mean, the West has organized regime change in endless countries around the world. If a military coup could end this conflict peacefully, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't people around the world appreciate that? That is catastrophic. Can you imagine the outcry if Washington Post prints headlines like NATO instigates Russian nuclear reaction by supporting Wagner's coup attempt? Okay, yes, I see that's a big deal. There is no way Prigozhin can keep this secret. He is a businessman, not a soldier. He cannot withstand the pressure from the interrogators. NATO will need a cover story of gigantic proportions. This is where I get into the picture. I tried to step down from NATO a year ago, but I was not allowed to. They kept me here. If you don't remember who they are, watch the previous episode about NATO's war against Russia. Look down in the prescription. You expressed your fears last week. If something went wrong, they would blame it on you. You were to become a scapegoat, weren't you? Yes, and now it has come true. But they must have something on you, otherwise you could simply walk away. Is there something like a Levinsky cigar, maybe? Yes, there is. However, the Levinsky cigar was such an innocent story compared to what I did. I did terrible things. I was so young and ignorant. I could never imagine that to happen to me. But it did. Now I would rather die than let it get exposed. Okay, I think I get it. The methods are well known, aren't they? You lure the suspect into a trap and then store documentations for later use, if need be. Something about stop it. Do not try to express it in words. Can you in any way prevent the release? Such exposure would be devastating to me and my family. But it would not really help NATO either. Therefore, they are going to create a story where they will blame me for a lot of bad stuff that has happened, such as corruption and interference in foreign affairs. And I will accept it, play my part, following the script. It will destroy my career, but not my life and family. My face will be everywhere as long as it takes to suppress the tragic story about the collusion with Wagner. When they have destroyed your career, are you out and done? You are never out and done. At any moment until my last breath, they may demand my participation. If I deny, I'm dead. Do you regret? Regretting is not a consideration. It's beyond what I can grasp. There is us, and then there is you. We are different worlds, different breeds. Do you know in advance what the cover story will contain? I of course know of our internal problems, and there are a whole lot to choose from. I think you will recognize it when you see it.